Okay, so now we have hopefully a better understanding of how actions work. We can sort of, call them and have scripts do stuff, and it doesn't really matter what it is. So let's do something practical to hopefully make it get explained a little bit better. And we're going to be using static actions, and we're going to make a very simple sort of health UI system. So let's create a health script, and then I'll explain what static actions are. So we need to be using Unity engine dot events to get access to our Unity actions. Now, what are static actions? Static actions are basically, they're the same thing as actions, but you can assign your methods to these actions from any script. So for our action tut script here, the only way we could assign stuff to this test action was if we have a reference to our action tut, or if we have a reference to what we want to assign to our test action. So we had a reference to our action child here. So we just assigned this method here to it. But we could also give this action child a reference to the action tut and assign it in this script. So I'll just show you what that would look like really quick. So if we have like a public action tut, and then like on a start or something, we could do like tut dot test action plus equals test action handler. And that's basically doing the same thing. But one of these things, you need a reference to it. But with static actions, you don't, which is cool. So we'll have, let's just make a public static Unity action health updated. And now let's make another script that will listen to this, and we'll call this our health UI. And we'll make a method, we'll make it private void call it a health updated handler because it's handling the health update action. And then on awake, we will assign it. So we can just do health dot health updated plus equals health updated handler. Just like that. And so this health is a reference to the class itself, not exactly a specific instance of it in the scene. There's just this one, when it's static, that means that there's only basically one of these in the entire project, in your entire game. It lives sort of in your assets rather than your scenes. So it can be used to store information between scenes or just easily get references to stuff like this. Or, you have your static methods that you can use to sort of run whenever you need to without needing a direct reference to it. You can just do the name of the class dot whatever static thing you're trying to access. So in this case, we're doing an action, which is very helpful because we can just assign that to whatever, and we don't have any direct references between health or health UI. We don't need to plug anything into the inspector. We don't need to get references with get components and finding names and stuff like that. It's very helpful and very, makes a lot of this stuff a lot easier to figure out and how to do. So we're just going to create in our health UI, we're going to add a few references. We still need references to our UI stuff. We're just going to keep it all in one script here. So we'll do like we need to be using Unity engine.ui up here so we can get access to our UI stuff. And we'll just get a public image. This will be our health bar. And we'll go to public text. This will be our text. So this health bar will be how much health percentage we have, and the text will just be our, let's call this current health. That'll be our current health text. Now, for these, we need an amount. We need the amount of health that we have left. But currently, we're not sending any information through these. Unity actions and actions, we can also actually just send information. So after the Unity action, if we put these like alligator braces, whatever they're called, less than greater than signs, we can put in a type of variable that we want to send. So if we're sending out health, we might send out the current health, which would be just an int. And now you'll notice we're getting some errors up here, and this is telling us that it is expecting a method with an int health updated handler, and then it has an int in the parentheses. So any method that we have that's assigning to this needs to also have the input parameters that the action has. So for example, we need just to add int health to our parameters, and then that will fix it. Because this is trying to send information to a method that, it's trying to send information. It's expecting a method that can listen to the information that it's sending, but if it can't, then it's going to give you some errors. Now, you don't actually have to do anything with this, you just need it in the parameters. So if you want to have like a health updated, or you want to have some sort of action that sends some information out, but you don't want everything listening to it to use all of that information, you don't have to. As long as it has it in the parameters, you can, send it out. So now we can do our current health.text equals health.toString. So now this will update the text for how much current health we have. So let's just make something really quick so we can show this off. So let's create a UI, let's make a canvas, and we'll create UI text. And we'll call this current health text. And let's actually create a panel here. Or it could just probably be an empty LSA. And this will be our health UI. This is where we're going to drag our health UI script onto. And we'll just parent everything under it. So then we'll drag our text into here, and we need a way to update our health. So let's make something in here. So update. And we'll just check if our mouse is down, input.get mouse button down 0. We also need, so we need to fill out our health script a little bit here actually. For now, let's just send out a number. So health updated, and then if we want to, we need to send a variable, a number out. So we need to send out int. So in the parentheses here, we need to do a number. So we'll just say 1. But also we need to make sure that we're doing the null check just in case nothing is assigned to this health updated. So we can do question_.invoke, and then have the 1 in the parentheses after that. So the reason why something like this is so powerful and very, very helpful is you don't need to have the health UI stuff active or in the scene for all your health stuff to still work. So when you turn on your health, if you need to later, it'll automatically assign everything and just start working, and you don't need to assign any references or anything like that. But if you don't want it, it can be off and it will still just work just fine, which is great. Okay, so we need to assign our health script to something actually in the scene for it to work, obviously. So we'll just make a cube, and let's put our health script on here. And we'll be using this cube as our basically like our enemy or something like that. So if we hit play and we hit left click, then it should send out an action, and it'll change our health to 1. Cool, perfect. So let's expand upon this health system a little bit with a few things. We're gonna need a public, I like to use ints for health, just solid whole numbers. So we'll make a current health, and we'll make a public int max health, and we'll set this equal to 10. Let's create a method that will change our health. First, let's do onAwake. Let's just set our current health equal to our max health. Actually, let's do this on enable. So this way, whenever the object gets turned on or off, it will reset its health, basically. So when we kill it, we're going to disable it, and then we can re-enable it, and it'll have its health back. So current health equals max health. Simple enough. And then we'll have a method here, public void, and we'll call it modify health, and we'll take in an int for the amounts, and this will be used for damaging and hurting, or damaging and healing our health. So like current health plus equals amount. And if we put in a negative for amount, then it will reduce it. If we put in a max, it'll increase it. And then let's just do a check if current health greater than max health, current health equals max health. If current health less than 0, or less than or equal to 0, we'll just put in a thing here for now. Equals 0, and they're dead. Cool. And anytime we update our health, we'll call our health updated action. So health updated question_.invoke, and we'll say we'll send out our current health. And then let's update this method a little bit. So instead of calling the action, it will call our modify health, and we'll send out +1 on a left click, so we heal on a left click. And let's add if input.get mouse button down 1. So this is, if we put a 1 in there, it's a right click. We can modify health -1. so it'll hurt it if we right click. And I'm going to disable this one so the console won't get all spammed. So left click. Oh, interesting. But if we right click, we can see it goes down. When we left click, we can see it goes up. Oh, I see. Okay, so see, that's happening. We're getting the plus and minus ones, or like we're getting 11 and -1 because we're sending it before we've clamped it. Before we've like changed all this stuff. So instead, I think what I'll do, because I don't want to send it after this has happened, because this will probably disable our object, in which case after that happens, this won't be called. So let's just clamp this really quick. So current health equals mathf.clamp our current health between 0 and max health. And so this will just take our current health and stick it between a value of 0 and however high our max health is, in which case we don't need this anymore. So now it'll clamp it first, and then if the health is equal to 0, so if the player's dead, basically, then it'll do that stuff. So now, you can see that it's going up and down. And that's super cool. Okay, so we have, done that. So now let's do something for our fill bar. So we'll also here see health bar dot fill amount equals, and so fill amount takes a value between 0 and 1, a float value, which we don't have because we're only sending in the current health. So we don't really know what the percentage sort of that we're dealing with is. So let's change our action a little bit again. So we'll send out, instead of 1 int, we can send out multiple. So we can send out like 2 ints here. So int and then int. And you can see that our action says that it's wrong because we're only sending out 1 int. So we're going to send out our current health and our max health, and then we're going to do some math on the other end to get a sort of normalized variable. So we're just going to rename this from health to current health. If you double tap R, Control R, that'll let you refactor stuff. So you can rename things without having to rename every individual one, which is really, really helpful. So, and then we're going to have an int. This is going to be max health. And so then health bar dot fill amount equals, so we're going to, if we divide our current health over our max health, then it should give us a value between 0 and 1 because we're getting a fraction of how much current health is of max health. And we need to also cast, these are both floats or ints, so we need to cast them as floats so we can get a float value out of this division. Otherwise we'd get a whole number, which would be 0 or 1, which wouldn't help us out. So then in our health UI, let's create an image. It's very simple. Let's just squish it down so it's more like a health bar sort of thing and make it green. And we need to make sure that we set, we need a sprite actually. So let's just do UI sprite. And we need to change image type from sliced to filled, which gives us access to this filled amount, which will let us sort of fill in a thing. And we want to change it to horizontal instead of, what was it? Radial. And you can see that it, depending on the fill amount, it goes from left to right. So now in our health UI, we just need to plug in our image. And whenever we update our health by left and right clicking, it should, it updates our fill bar, which is super cool. And we've done this all without any direct references to our health script itself. And we can, just turn it on and off. And if we turn our health UI at the beginning of the game, our health is still happening. And then we turn it on, and then it updates again. When we turn it on, we probably want to make sure we update it in some way. But, we can turn it on and off, and it's not going to break it. Yeah, there's one thing I should mention about actions, and it's another thing to do with some no reference exceptions that can happen. If you have an object that is listening to a caller, to an action, and it gets deleted or destroyed, or if like the scene changes or something like that. There's some weird cases where you'll get null reference exceptions from your action because it's trying to send out an action to something that's not there, and it can't like listen to it because it's not there, and it's expecting to be able to send it somewhere, but it can't, so it's gonna send out a null reference exception, which can break some things. So you just want to be a little bit careful if you start getting like null reference exceptions for this sort of thing and you can't really figure out why. It might be because something got deleted or destroyed. I've tried to recreate it a few times while I was recording this, but I couldn't get it to do that, so hopefully it won't be a problem. So we talked about actions, and Unity actions are basically just actions, and I hope that this was helpful. I tried to show a practical implementation of this to give you a better idea. If you have any questions about this, like this sort of thing and applications of these, it took me a while at least to sort of really understand how I can use these a lot in the best way. So if you have any questions about these, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll try and answer them the best that I can. All the information, all the scripts and stuff will be in the description below to a GitHub that I have. And I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching.